What's going on, everybody? Kalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. This is the beginner's guide to the Samsung Galaxy A53 5G. In this video, I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks for this phone to help you get more familiar with it. If you're new to Android or smartphones in general, this is definitely one you're going to want to watch. Now, before we go any further, as always, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to learn more about this phone, definitely check out my full review of it as well. But with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you is how to change the screen lock. By screen lock, I basically mean how you get into the phone. So by default, when your screen's locked and you want to open it, it's going to have you put in a PIN. I personally use the fingerprint scanner, but you can change it in several different ways. So to get to these options, we're going to go to Settings. From here, go to Lock Screen. And from here, right at the top, it's going to say Screen Lock Type. To get to these options, you're going to have to put in your current PIN, which you should have had to create as soon as you turned on the phone for the first time. And now, as you can see, we have several different options here. We got Swipe, which is basically nothing at all. There's Pattern, PIN, which is the default, and Password if you want to get really high security. There's also None. Suffice to say, I don't really recommend using Swipe or None, and this is coming from someone who really doesn't like to have to deal with security on anything. Trust me, you're going to want at least a little bit of security on your phone, so I definitely recommend having at least a PIN or a pattern or something like that. Now, in case you're new to Android and have never seen the pattern before, this is basically what it looks like. It's kind of cool, not really that high security and pretty easy to guess, but if you don't really keep anything sensitive on your phone, I guess I could see it being okay. It's definitely better than nothing, I'll give it that. Now, I personally use PIN. I really like that because it's right in the middle, a little bit more secure than a pattern, but at the same time, it's not as much of a pain as a password if I ever have to put it in quickly. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to what you're most comfortable with, so if you do have a specific preference, definitely choose that. Now, down at the bottom here, under biometrics, you can turn on either the fingerprints or face unlock. Now, that being said, in order to set these up for the first time, there's a completely different menu you're going to have to go to. So if we go back to the main settings menu, from here, go to biometrics and security. And as you can see, we got fingerprints right here and face recognition, and you'll get some on-screen instructions to set up either your fingerprints or your face. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change your screen timeout time. Now, in case you didn't know, if you leave your phone inactive like this for long enough, the screen is automatically going to lock. But there might be a situation where you might be doing something where you're not actively touching your phone, but at the same time, you want it to stay on for a little longer. In that situation, you might want to change your screen timeout time. To do this, go back to Settings. From here, go to Display. And down towards the middle, you're going to see screen timeout, so right here. And as you can see, mine is set to 10 minutes, which is the longest. But if you don't want it to stay on that long, you can set it a lot shorter. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to customize your always on display. Now, in case you don't know what that is, this is your always on display. So it's basically a screen that's kind of on, but not really. Basically just to give you the bare minimum you need to know. So if you get notifications, stuff like that, if you want to see the time or you want to unlock your phone, lots of different things we can do here. So to customize your always on display, you're going to want to go to Settings. From here, go to Lock Screen. And always on display by default is on. If you want to turn it off, you can simply toggle this off. And then as you can see here, there's no more always on display. But let's take a look at some of our other options. So as you can see, the always on display by default is on tap to show, which basically means if I turn off the display and then tap it once, the always on display is going to come on. Pretty straightforward, but you can also have it always show. So with this, your screen is never really going to be off. I don't personally really like this that much because now it's always just going to be like this. And to me, that's just a waste of battery. You can also schedule it, which I don't really know why someone would want to do that. You could also have it show for new notifications, which I do understand. I personally like to keep it at the default, but definitely play around with it and see which one you like the best. You can also change the clock style. So if we go here, you have a bunch of different selections and different colors as well. So I'm just going to choose something random. Hit done. And now back on the always on display. It's going to be this nice purple clock I selected. There are also a couple other less significant settings here. Music information, so if you're listening to Spotify, something like that. Screen orientation, by default it's portrait. I don't really know why you'd want it in landscape, but you can. Let's see what that looks like. Interesting. And auto brightness by default is on. So definitely a few options there, but really nothing too complicated. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is a quick way to customize your home screen. You can always get to your home screen settings through the settings menu, but the easier way to do it is to simply press and hold a finger on the home screen like this. And as you can see, we got a bunch of different settings here. First of all, you can look at all your different screens and even add new ones. You can change the wallpaper, customize the themes, add widgets, and see some general settings for your home screen. Now it's really simple and all, but there are a couple do's and don'ts I want to point out here. First of all, one thing you don't want to do is press and hold your finger on a widget because that's not going to open the menu. What it's going to do is this. And while this may be useful in some situations, of course, if you want to move the widget around, if you're trying to get to your home screen settings, this can just be annoying. So be sure not to press and hold on a widget, and don't do it on an app either, because this is going to happen. Same kind of thing. Of course, useful if you want to move around the app or something like that. But if you're trying to get to your home screen settings, be sure you're pressing on a blank spot and a blank spot only. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to hide an app. Now you're actually going to do this from the menu I just showed you. Pretty straightforward. So again, press and hold your finger on the home screen like this in a blank spot. From here, go to settings. And right down here at the bottom where it says hide apps, go ahead and tap here. And now it's going to give you a list of all the apps you have on your phone, and you can hide whichever ones you want. So for example, I'm going to hide Bixby, of course, because I never use that. When you're done, be sure to hit done. Don't hit the back button, otherwise it's not going to do anything. And now going back to the app drawer, the Bixby app is nowhere to be seen. And if you ever hide an app and want to get it back, all you need to do is go back to that same menu. And all the apps you've hidden are going to be conveniently up here. So to unhide it, just hit the minus. Remember to hit done before exiting out of this menu. And going back to the app drawer, the Bixby app is right here. The next thing I'm going to show you is some options you have for your notifications. So to get to this menu, we're going to go to settings. From here, go to notifications. And the first thing we got here is your pop-up style. So you can have it either brief or detailed. Brief is the default, pretty minimalistic. It's basically just going to say you got a notification from this app, whereas detailed is going to give you obviously a little bit more detail about it. You can also turn off notifications from specific apps. To do that, you're going to go to recently sent, hit more. And these are going to be all the apps that have sent you notifications within the last 7 days. From here, all you got to do is toggle off the notifications on the apps you don't want them from. And that's pretty much it. Now if you go to advanced, there are also some other settings here. There's stuff from the status bar, so notification icons, by default, it's going to be your 3 most recent. You can also have it show the number, nothing, or everything. I personally like to leave it at the default, but again, it's really just up to your preference. Battery percentage, you can show it or hide it. Conversations, floating bubbles, so if you're having a text conversation, something like that, and you want to have it popped out on the screen, that's what this is for. Replies and suggestions, snooze button, reminders, app icon badges, so if you want, you can even turn this off. So it's not a ton of stuff, but you can definitely customize quite a bit for your notifications. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change your system navigation. Now in case you're not familiar with Android navigation, down here we got the recent apps button, the home button of course, and the back button. But with the navigation, we definitely have some options we can change. So to do this, you're going to go to settings. From here, go to display. Go to navigation bar. So as you can see here, this is the navigation menu. By default, we have it set to buttons. Pretty classic. Android's been using this type of navigation for quite a while now. You can also change the order of the buttons. And then we can also change to what's called gesture navigation. Now, as you can see down here, the buttons are replaced with this little line that's basically nothing. So let me show you how gesture navigation works. To go home, instead of pressing a button, swipe up like this. To go to your recent apps, drag your finger up from the bottom like that. And to go back, swipe from left to right or right to left. There's also another form of gesture navigation called swipe up from bottom. I don't really get the point of this a whole lot, but if we go here, it basically is like gesture navigation, but it works like the button navigation. So to go home, you swipe up from the middle. To go back, you swipe up from the right. And to go to your recent apps, swipe up from the left. Now again, I don't really see the point of this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I guess some people do like it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have this option. So definitely feel free to give it a try. Maybe you'll see more value in it than I do. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to turn on a feature called touch sensitivity. This is basically for if you have a screen protector, it'll make the screen a little bit more sensitive just so the screen protector doesn't make your phone harder to use. So to turn this on, we're going to go to settings. From here, go to display. And from here, go all the way down. And touch sensitivity is right here. And now the screen is going to be a little bit more sensitive. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is a feature called easy mode. Long story short, this is basically going to make everything on the screen a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So to get to easy mode, we're going to go to settings. From here, go to display one more time, and easy mode is right here. Once you turn it on, as you can see, everything is going to be a little bit bigger. So if you go back to the home screen, things are going to be much easier to see. Now for whatever reason, on this specific phone, easy mode isn't exactly as customizable as it used to be. I don't really know why, but you can't specifically change the size. So for example, if you wanted it to be like halfway between this and the normal mode, unfortunately with this phone you can't, whereas with other Samsung phones in the past you could. But all in all, if you do want things to be a little bit easier to see, this is definitely a decent option. But this was my beginner's guide for the Samsung Galaxy A53 5G. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And again, if you want to learn more about this phone, be sure to watch my full review of it as well. But that's it for this video. As always, I will see you in the next one.